Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on some carbs from that 95 XP with the 720 engine. We have two of them, of course. These are the two I pulled from the 95s. This is the one from the 97 GTX with the 787 or the 800 engine. And I'm going to discuss the difference between these. These carb units are basically the same, but they're different jets and seats. And they can have slightly different throttle cable, or not throttle cable, oil cables, oil pump cables as well. If you see this one here, this has this separate bolt that goes through this mechanism for your oil pump. These were pretty common. I've already removed the cable off of this one on the XPs with the 720. Now, this one here is off the 800, which has a different setup where it will have just your standard bullet that will go in there and then connect here. So this oil cable for the oil injection is different than those. But if you run into an issue where you have the wrong cable, you can swap this butterfly unit out for one of these. It's pretty easy to do. So if you're running, if you get a carb or you're running it and you come across this issue where your cables are different, or you ordered the wrong cable and you have extra parts, you can swap between these two. It's not that big of a deal. The 96 GTI I did that had the 720 actually had this setup with this big butterfly instead of this style. So it's not a big deal if you have to swap them. It's just removing this nut and taking this stuff off and swapping that. You can get extra parts like these on eBay or whatnot. So it's not that big of a deal. So that's the biggest difference between these carbs, other than your needles, your seats, and your jets. All your pump units and everything else are the same between these Mikuni carbs. But today we're going to be rebuilding, tearing these apart. And I've already kind of got a little head start. I've already taken apart the old gas lines. And as you can see, those gray gas lines tend to leave a green, they break down and they leave a green goo residue around the brass fittings, and that stuff gets inside your carbs and blocks your screens, which will cause your carbs to run lean and destroy your engine. So this is why we always say change out your gray gas lines to the nice black stuff. And of course I'm going to be using hose clamps instead of the auto grip clamps. So, and I've already got these cut to the same length. As you can see, we're good to go. So I've already done some prep on these. As you can see here, I've already taken this the pump head off, which would look like this one. This one's actually broken, so it would look like this. And this is the piece we normally have issues with the gasket. You want to soak the gasket. So we have that in this here. Parts brake cleaner and parts cleaner. So that's been soaking, and I've been, over the last few weeks, it's been soaking. I actually have quite a few of these in here soaking to get that residue off, to get that gasket material off. I'm going to use this towel here to clean this. So I've been scraping with a knife, with a razor blade, and cleaning it with a Brillo pad and all that to get that gasket material off, because it's a pain to get off. We use our carb cleaner. Make sure that hole, is not plugged. So we're getting cleaner through there. So we'll focus on getting the rest of this gunk, the old gasket material, off. I also find out that this pad here does wonders for help cleaning it. You don't want to go too fast. And this pad is available at Napa. And the rest we'll kind of get with a razor blade. And we'll just clean that up and get that rest of that gasket off, and we'll get back to that. We'll set that aside. So now we're going to take these apart, and since we already started with the pump, let's start with this one. Now I get my carb kits from Nick Grillo at OSD Marine. They come in a nice pack like this, and he's got instructions and everything in there. So let's open this up and we'll separate our parts. I like to have a nice tray here to kind of dump stuff in so we don't lose stuff. Also, there's two little diaphragms right here. It's hard to see. They're clear. Make sure you don't lose those. So we're going to leave that on this instruction sheet for now. Set that in there. I've got my little tray here for sorting. So we know these are the new diaphragms here. I'll set those right in there. These are our gaskets. We won't be needing these until we mount them. These are the new stainless steel external screws. They will be replacing all these Phillips head screws, or JIS screws, I think is what they're called. We have our new needle and seats, so we'll put those right there. And those little filters I was telling you about that are clogged, they get clogged up. These are those little filters. I'll put those in there. Those are the new ones. And these little springs here, you do not want to lose those. With Nick's from OSD, his kit, you can reuse these. These are back to OEM specs, so you don't want to lose those. Here we have little O-rings for the high and low jets. There should be 4 of these. There's 2, there's 3. Let's see. Should be 4. Maybe I'm short one. Okay, I do have extra ones of those. This is our pump diaphragm, and this is that gasket, that thick cardboard gasket right there. That's the one that's hard to remove off of this. That's really hard to remove. But we'll get to that in a minute. Put that there. Here we have our new arms and pivot rods for the needles. We'll set those in there. Here's more random O-rings. We'll get to those. More diaphragm gaskets here. We'll put those there. And these are our internal screws. A lot of times they will strip out and be a pain to get out. So you always want to buy the new screws, his kit. And I cannot find that fourth O-ring. Nick, if you're watching this, you saw me dump it out right there. I'm missing an O-ring. So what I will do, I'm going to steal one from another kit. Okay, so this is the 787 kit I bought for that GTX with the 787. So here are, looks like we've got 4 of them in there, so let's open this up and try to get one of those out. They are the same, so now we have 4. So I'm short one of those, Nick, so I'm going to put this kit back in, because this is for... Okay, so these are the 787 carbs for the GTX, which since we're doing the 720 video, I probably won't do a video on this because it's pretty much the exact same thing. So we're going to set this aside. So now we've got those sorted, and there's our other bolts. Now this here, these are JIS screws, or screwdrivers. They're not your standard, your regular screwdrivers that you'd have in your regular toolbox. These are special Japanese with different tips. I got these on Amazon. I think they were like $15. I'll try to leave a link in the description. But these will come in handy when removing those small internal screws and these big ones. So let's dive into this. So we're going to take off our pump here. And like I said, these old screws we won't be reusing. So I have a nice tray here for all the old screws and washers. That is the throttle cable and choke cable holder. And there is our pump diagram. And I've already removed the old valves, one-way valves I think they're called. Those other clear things, which we'll get to in a minute. Here's the old diaphragm and rubber O-ring. And there is an old filter. Looks pretty clean. Got some gunk in it. So now we're going to take this off. This is where the needle and seats are. Let's see. Now, I have already loosened these up with my impact. This here comes in handy. Pretty well used. You put that on there and you hit that with a hammer to help break them loose. Comes in pretty handy sometimes when doing the small internal screws. Like I said, these screws here we will hopefully not be reusing. There's our cover. And then here's the heart and guts of it. Got the old needle and seat. And then there's these old screws. You look at that one here real closely. You can see it looks like it's pretty much almost stripped out. They're both kind of rounded off. Hopefully we won't have any issues getting these things out. Actually, I think I already loosened these up. But yeah, I must have already cracked all these loose before the video a few weeks ago. So we'll take that off. These old screws here will get thrown away. And remember those clear things I told you about you don't want to lose? That's it right there. There's a little flap. It's really hard to see. It's held down by that screw right there, and those really strip out easy too. So we'll get to replacing that in a minute. There's the old gasket. You can see we got the new ones there, so it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Now we have this small screw here that's holding on our pivot arm. Now my new kit came with new ones. I just wanted to have some extra ones, but we'll reuse these because they're good. So set that there. There's our old needle. And then there's a small screw in there with a Y clip. You can see here. And there's our original spring right there. We don't want to lose that original spring. Always keep your original springs, because if you know it's a stock spring, that's good. If it's an aftermarket spring, you probably want to throw it away anyway. If your carbs were running bad before. If your carbs were running good before and you're just doing it, you might want to reuse it because it might have been specially jetted or tuned. But we're basing everything off here off stock. So we're going back to stock for a stock ski. So here's where take that. We're not going to reuse this old screw, but we are going to need that Y clip. So now we have our high and low needles, our jets, and then our needle and seat, or our seat right there. I'm going to use this to prop that out. That's our old one. And I'm just going to keep that with that one. And you'll see what I'll do with that in a bit. And here we have my other specialty toolkit. You'll need some small flatheads for getting in there. There's a small one right in there. Now these are the boogers you don't want to lose. So I got it loose. Look at that, how small that is. We do not want to lose that booger. So I'm going to set it right here on my tray. And then I'm going to grab this one and take out. So these are the boogers you don't want to lose. Now stamped in there, really hard to see. Sometimes I need a magnifying glass, or the sizes. We're going to go back to stock, so we're going to keep these all in here. And this says, let's see if I'm looking at it right. I think it's 1.5. My lighting is bad. But okay, so that's all disassembled, and that's all disassembled. Now what we have to do is our high and low. They have these plastic caps on them. Just take them right off on that one. And it screws right out. Remember those little O-rings I only have 3 of? That's it right there. That's the old one. You can see it's kind of mushroomed. That's why you don't like to reuse those. We don't want to lose this washer and that spring. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and grab our new one, and we're going to stick that right on there. And that'll keep everything in there nice and tight, so we don't have to worry about losing everything. And then we'll set that there. Then we have, this is the other one right here. It's nice to have extra set of carbs so you can always have references to where everything was. So again, we got that O-ring right there. That's pretty worn. So it's garbage. And we'll grab our new one. So you have 2 of these per carb, so that's why you need 4. Now when you put these back in, we will look up our, there's a certain amount of turns they have to be turned. You turn them all the way in, and then you turn them out a certain amount of turns. And Nick Grill at OSD has a nice chart for that. So you can look up your year and model and verify the turn. So now they're all taken apart. So now we're going to spray some carb cleaner through here. And sometimes I do soak them in a ultrasonic cleaner. But this one's actually pretty clean. There's no corrosion. They're not gummed up. So this one's, there's no need to run this one through a carb cleaner. We're just going to, or through an ultrasonic cleaner. We're just going to spray it down with some carb cleaner. And I like to use these with the straw. And there's ports in there, and you should make sure that everything is, when you spray it into the holes for those needles we took out, that it comes out like that. And then that one comes out this hole right, there's a little hole right there. You can see it right there. So you want to make sure that that comes out. You see it spitting out, so that we know the passage is clean. And we'll do the same with all these. I like spraying some in here in the gas lines, ports. So that one's all good and clean. I like building one at a time, so then we'll do this one next. This one's the more complicated one. So here we're gonna take out this little one-way valve. I'm not sure the technical term. You have to pardon me for that. Grab my small screwdriver. Crack it loose. Don't lose that. And as you can see, there's a certain way it goes on there. There's 2 holes. One is offset because this retainer here has a little nib right there that sits in that hole. So we'll set that aside, and we're going to clean this with some carb cleaner. Should be wearing gloves, but I'm not. Okay, so remember those little things we told you don't want to lose? I'm going to grab one out of here very carefully. They are clear, so you don't want to lose them. They will be a pain to find. And we're going to set it in the right spot. Line up our holes. There we go. Now I need those internal screws. And we'll get that back together. Pause it. Okay, so we got our little internal screws here. I'm going to dump them out in here. And we want the little one with the flat washer. And it's this little booger right there. Right there. So we have the new one and the old one. So I'm going to put the new one back on. Make sure that clear thing is pretty straight on there. You'll see these 2 little holes. You want to be in between those 2. Get it tight. And that one is done. Now there's another one of these in this other one. You do it the same way. So now we're going to move on to our needle and seats. So here is the brand new one. Comes with these little nice clear little retainers. If I can get it off. Okay, so see this here? Now remember I kept the old one. Here's the old one. Boom. Just for reference. And then we'll put those in a bag so we know, and we'll label it for this machine so we know that's what it came with when we got it. I'm going to drop that right in there. I'm going to take out that needle and give this a good push. Hear it snap in. Set that back. Okay, now we need that Y retainer ring, which is right here. Drop that in there. Sometimes they can be a booger to line up. Let's try that again. Take that out, set that there. Okay, I want to get this set flat in there. There we go, now it's flat in there. Okay, and this was the old screw. I was holding that. And we'll grab the replacement one. Alright, so I had the wrong screw. We need the one with the small washer. And that goes right in there. You tighten that to hold. Oh, we need that bigger. To hold that Y clip in place. There we go. Now we have our needle. Drop that in there like that. Now comes, we have our arms and we need our springs, which we'll get this. Oh, we need the new springs. We're going with the new springs right there. And that goes in that little hole right there. And then we need our screw for holding this on. And that is the one with the chamfer on it. So, put our rod through there like that. And this has that little dimple right there. That's going to hold the spring in place. So you put that arm in the loop that's the needle has, and then make sure that other dimple is on the spring like that. And then our screw. Just like that. Now when we do the pop-off test, we're going to spray some WD-40 in there and we'll pressurize it and it should pop off. It should pop up. Okay, so now we have to do our jets. We got them right here. And I'm going to spray some carb clean through them. Make sure they're good and clear and not plugged up. So we have the big one in there. Now these are just soft brass fittings. So you want to get them snug, just like that. Now we'll do this little small one. That thing is small. I'm working inside over a table, but we're going to be over the garage floor here, so hopefully we won't drop it. And we drop that outside in the dirt. Some of you may not ever find it. I'm going to put that in there. My hands, just like that. So that's in there, and then we tighten it. Good and snug. Okay, so next we need our diaphragm here, diaphragm gasket, the new one here, and they're the same. And that sits in there just like that. And then you're ready for this piece. Just like that, and new screws. Get one snug, then get the other one started and get it snug. And do not put blue Loctite on these, because then you'll really strip them when you kind of get them out. Okay, so we're going to leave this open for now, because I'm going to show you in another video how to do a pop-off test. And then we're going to work on our pump. Now, go back to our instructions here. We don't want to lose out of the diaphragm. on these instructions. So Nick has this nice little diaphragm here of the carbs. So we need our filter, that gasket, O-ring, and then this is number 5. That's a diaphragm damper. I always get confused where they go with the clear and the not clear one. So that diaphragm damper will be the soft, flimsy one. We have our new filter. Goes in the holes like that and give a nice push. Our new O-ring goes in just like that. And then we put this just like that. And that is how that base unit goes underneath it. Next is this one. This is the tricky one. We have to put in those check valves. So let's get this gasket out of the way. We won't need that right now. These are more of those clear check valves that are a pain to do. And I would do one at a time. Don't lose those. And then you have your rubber grommet. Okay, and this is this is the tool. Some people like to use the tool, and I have it right here. It doesn't really work that well. I've busted a few of them, of the rubber inserts, but here he has the concave needs to go like that toward the pump body. So the check valves must be installed as shown with the concave side towards the pump body. Failure to do so will result in improper sealing by the check valves. The check valves are supplied by the maker in rolls. This results in check valves having a permanent curl. If the curl is not readily discernible, there's also a blue ink mark on each valve. The side having the ink mark is the side away from the pump. So you want that ink mark facing you as you install it. The problem is, they're clear. How can you tell which side is the mark? So we're going to look at it, and I can barely see a concave. These are the things that really get me. So I'm assuming the darker side is up. So we're going to put that like that. And this is where WD-40 comes in handy. I've seen some people use soap or some Dawn dish soap, which can work just as well. Another advice people have used is a ball end Allen wrench. I'll get that one out and the next size, because with that tool I've busted too many. I really don't like doing these, and you can lose them. They will go flying. Cheat a little bit with this small screwdriver to try to get started in there. But yeah, they are a pain, and if you don't be careful, you can break the rubber, go right through the rubber. And this tool here, it just always seems to puncture the rubber seal. I can never get this tool to work right. We just about got it. Okay, so that one is in. And you see we're kind of mushroomed out. So then we'll pick at it and get it to be evenly. So hopefully that one is good. Now we'll do the other one. And like I said, a lot of times when I'm rebuilding these carbs, if these check valves look good, I won't bother replacing them, because see, again, that ink is worn, so now I have not a clue which side's the concave side. So I really hate these things. So we're going to go with it. Okay, I'm going to look good. Okay, okay. And grab a WD-40. Sometimes I get lucky and they just slide right in. Of course, when I'm making a video, they don't do it. Just wish there was a screw to hold these in instead of these little rubber grommets. See, I think this shaft is too long, because if you're not careful, you'll just go right through and tear that tip, puncture right through that tip. Okay, so that one's in. I'll clean it with some carb cleaner. So make sure our ports are good and clean. Now we have, it goes just like this. That your rear filter sets just like that. And we have this O-ring sits there. Now we'll go back to our diagram. So as you can see, we've got that O-ring in. Next, we need the clear one, and then it's that hard one. So here is the clear one. Make sure our holes line up just like that. And then we have the hard one. Just like that. Now we want to, this is that piece that we struggle with cleaning all the time. I want to get it around that pin right there. That's the part that's normally the hardest. And this is where Dremel tool and soft brush comes in handy. Make sure you wear your safety glasses. So that one's good to go. We got our Make sure our hole is lined up. And there we go. Now we're ready for these bolts. Bolts up there. And we do have a bracket. So over here is our pump. We need this bracket to go back on. So that's this one. Make sure these ledges are bent outways. So it goes just like that. Stitching with this thing. Nope, that one. Get one started. Make sure you're all in. And we'll grab our Allen wrenches. And we're just going to get these snug. We'll make sure they're tight when we do our pop-off test. What in the world? Huh. Nick, look at that one. Look at that bolt. It's mushroomed. That one's junk. So I'm short a bolt there. Let's go into our other carb kit. We're back into that 787 carb kit, and still a bolt out of this one. Luckily, Nick, in my last video, opening up video, he sent me two of these kits, two of these bolt kits, so I do have an extra one of these kits. So we're just going to steal that big one out of there. Let's stick that back in there. That's just, look at that. I was wondering why my Allen wrench wouldn't go in there. It's all mushroomed. I remember one time I saw a bolt at work. This was all smooth and polished. There were no threads. So we're just going to get these snug. Okay, so that's on, and of course, when we're going to do the pop-off test in the next video, but this will go like this, and then your top will go back on, and you'll be good. But I'm going to leave this off now until I get ready to do the pop-off test. Now we'll go back to our high and low needles. So the one with the pivot bars, with the turn bars, is going to go right here underneath your butterfly. And I don't have the number of turns that this is supposed to go. It's supposed to turn out, but I'll look that up at Nick's site. So we're just going to get them tight now. So that one's tight. Once we look that up, we'll turn it out. I think it's maybe 1 1/4 turns. I can't recall what it is for this 95 XP. And we'll put this one in. And we'll do the same. I'm pretty sure this one is 0. I'm pretty sure it's all the way in. You don't adjust this one. You might have to adjust it for altitude if you're higher up in the mountains or something, sea level. But we'll just leave those tight for now. And that one is done. This other carb, it's basically the same. It's actually a lot easier because you don't have that pump body. You just have this here with a gasket under it in your filter. So this one is a lot easier to do, but it's exactly the same thing. So like I said, I'm missing a few things here and there, but that's how you clean a carb. It's not rocket science. You want to have a nice, clean work area, an organizer for your old parts and your new parts, and you don't want to lose any of those that dampener right there, that little clear thing, that check valve. You don't want to lose that. I want to make sure that stays in there for when I do the other carb. Other tools that may come in handy if you have strip screws, extractors, speed extractors. These work nicely. You'll need your hose clamps for your hoses. And these are my bits I use for the pop-off test. And this is a pop-off tester pump. So what we're going to do in that video is we'll hook this up to these and plug them, and we'll pump it up to a certain PSI, and we'll put some WD-40 in there, and when it gets that pop off at that certain PSI, it should pop off and spray. If it pops off before that or after that, then you have some issues. So that'll be for the next video. So if you have any questions on cleaning your carbs, leave them in the comments below. There's a lot of videos out there on doing these. Some people may have better terminology than me, but it's basically unscrew stuff, put new stuff back in. And the tuning is when you have to deal with your pop off and your high and lows and your jets. You got to pay attention to these here. Right here, yeah, this is, it's hard to see, but it's 1.2. That's your needle. That's your needle and seats at 1.2. That's on this 95 with a 720 or 717. And then we'll button these back together, and we'll install them on the ski. And then we'll set our oil pump cable and the oil injection. As you can see down here with the engine, this is the engine that will be going on. We got it painted white. That's from Peter Rusinski at Fox Valley Power Sports. I still have to put my starter bolts in, and hopefully that starter works. But that'll be going in that 95 XP. So shout out to Peter at Fox Valley Power Sports. Also helps to have a toothbrush if your carbs are really dirty, getting in some of these crevices to clean them out. Luckily they were pretty clean. But again, these JIS screwdrivers on Amazon, they help a lot instead of using your regular number 2, number 1, because they're a different tip. And with those tips, you're more likely to round them off. So I'd like to thank Nick Grillo at OSD Marine for his carb kits and your weird bolts. We're short that one needle rubber thing, but I'll steal one from another kit. That's what I did. And we'll get this other one rebuilt. But I appreciate the great work you do with these kits, Nick. I just messaged you earlier. You said you were on a beach in Mexico. So I hope you have a nice beer for me too, man. We're all going to need more parts, so you got to get back in the shop and ship out those parts. And shout out to Peter again at Fox Valley. He always treats me great with his engines. Fast turnaround. Last engine, I think, like I said, I got back within 20 days. Shipping it to him and getting it back 20 days. You can't beat that. So yeah, tell him Glenn over at GC Extreme sent you for your when you send him your engine. Say GC Extreme sent you. Maybe he'll give you a discount. I know he'll throw in some stickers. I just had some sweet stickers made for him. They're in the mail. So hopefully he'll throw in some stickers for you. So stay tuned for the next video where we'll do a pop-off test. So until then, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you.